Versatile Mage. Chapter 33 Stardust Magic Tool. Brother Fan, you should stop daydreaming. That Yuang really is abnormal. We don't even know if you will see the sunlight of your second day as an 18-year-old. You should just stop wishing to marry the little princess. Yuang. Humph. Watch me make him look for his teeth on the floor. In the past, Mo Fan would consider whether he was capable of opposing the whole Mu family. So how could the current Mo Fan be afraid of merely the disciples in the younger generations? The fire in his left hand would scorch their outsides crisp and their insides tender, while the lightning in his right hand would lacerate their flesh. The final results of the annual examination had been released. When the large blackboard showed Mo Fan in first place, numerous people rubbed their eyes in disbelief. How was this Mo Fan so amazing? His examination results were surprisingly impressive. How did he surpass even the lightning element's Zhu Zhaoting, and that newbie from the ice elemental family? The matter with the grades had already caused many people to widen their eyes. The matter of Mo Fan cursing Mu Juoyan in front of everyone, and challenging a disciple of the Mu family with the school supervisors as witnesses, had quickly spread amongst the students. As a result, it didn't take long before Mo Fan became famous in the school. Not only did he become a divine student of the school in a flash, even more surprising was that he was the most reckless student in all of Bo City. Those with some experience understood that Tianlan Magic High wasn't for your average magicians. There were some impressive students within the 1,500 student body. Sure, however, it was simply not on the same level as certain magic highs and the noble families with deep foundations. The Hunters Union, Magic Association, big families, and noble families, any random magician from them would be enough to suppress all of them. The school was certainly a good choice for both grassroots and prodigies. However, that didn't mean you could go challenge those second-generation wizards. Mo Fan didn't care about the gossip happening around the school. Other than meditating and practicing spellcasting, he would eat and sleep. The only thing worth mentioning was that Mo Fan was placed within the elite class. The elite class had 100 individuals total. They were all in a large classroom and practiced in a large training ground. The students in the elite class were generally capable of controlling 7 stars. It was just that they weren't proficient enough in spellcasting. Thus, when it was time for practical classes, each of the elite elemental students demonstrated their magical prowess. The teacher for the practical classes remained Mrs. Tang Yu. It was said that this newly arrived practical teacher's cultivation had far surpassed any of the other practical teachers within the school. Even though she hadn't been in the school for more than half a year, the elite class practical classes were being taught by her. The homeroom teacher of the elite class also remained Zhu Musheng. His class had 2 S-grade students. If he wasn't the homeroom teacher for the elite class, who else could it be? It was because of Mo Fan that Zhu Musheng obtained so many benefits from the school supervisors. Naturally, the school supervisors had repeatedly instructed Zhu Musheng to fix Mo Fan's rebellious temperament. Zhu Musheng got a headache over this matter. He felt that whether Mo Fan was a failure in school or a divine student, he was just like Buddha, hard to please. The new term went by, and yet another month passed in a flash. The homeroom teacher, Zhu Musheng, was standing in the elite class and coughed, signaling everyone to control their excitement. Why were the students so excited today? Today was the day where the school distributed the Stardust magic tools to the elite class. There was naturally another benefit to being students of the elite class other than having the best teachers. The reason behind why those large magic associations and ancient magic families were so much further ahead, excluding their abundant knowledge, secrets, and experience, was the most important factor: the Stardust magic tool. Let's put it like this: experience, knowledge, secrets, and teachings would be the software, whereas the Stardust magic tool would be the most important hardware. Other large ancient families had all sorts of software, and their technology was first-rate. Even if an average magician could learn everything from school, they still wouldn't have the hardware that could compare to the ancient families. That is to say, this Stardust magic tool was quite valuable. It was capable of nurturing the soul and cultivation, and it would relieve the fatigue the magician experienced after meditation, allowing them to continue practicing. To put it simply, it was like a cooler, decreasing the cooldown of meditation. There was no way around it. Mo Fan wasn't a paid player. He naturally had to go through the school to obtain the necessary cultivation resources. The competition in school was intense. It was simply like gold and sand. Fortunately, he was firmly placed in first rank. Thus, the magic resources he obtained from the school wouldn't be a small amount. This way, he would be able to cultivate in peace. The usage time for the Stardust magic tool will be based on the rankings of your annual examination. The higher you are placed, the longer you will be allowed to use it. Naturally, our school is very fair, and thus we will conduct an examination every quarter of the year and rearrange the rankings. The Stardust magic tool usage will then change according to the new ranking. The other thing to take note of is that you are currently the students of the elite class, and you possess an advantage a common class doesn't have. However, don't believe for a second that your position is safe. During the quarterly examination, the last 10 people will directly be downgraded to the common class, and the top 10 of the common class will be upgraded to the elite class. Thus, the pressure of the competition is increasingly high. Zhu Musheng said. This part was no different than his previous world. Mo Fan didn't think anything of it. There were a lot of people who didn't like school, and even more who didn't like high school exams. However, there was one phrase that wasn't wrong. How are you going to stand on equal ground with a wealthy second generation if you don't have an education or take tests? The school's cultivation resources were not necessarily worse than the large ancestral families. The only difference was that the schools had gold and sand. You'd also have to agree with one phrase. Only gold is able to shine. Mo Fan, as the number one in class, you ought to be the first to use the Stardust magic tool, and also have it for the longest duration. However, due to your disrespect toward your elders during the annual examination, the time you are allowed to use it has been changed to 10 days, down from a month. This is your penalty, Zhu Musheng said with a solemn face. From a month to 10 days. That penalty is way too harsh. If he could hold himself back from being so impudent, then the 1 month worth of time would be enough to pull him far ahead of many others, some students started to discuss. If he were to bluntly lower his head and agree to joining the Mu family, then he'd most likely receive even more. Yeah. Why is he so stubborn? Zhu Musheng glared, causing the students to quiet down. Mo Fan, do you have any objections regarding this penalty? Zhu Musheng asked. I do not, Mo Fan replied. Mo Fan naturally needed a Stardust magic tool. His cultivation time was already longer than that of others, and with the help of the Stardust magic tool, he would be able to do half the work for twice the results. However, it would only have this effect if used continuously over a long period of time. If it was used only in short intervals, it would bring very little value to Mo Fan. 10 days of use, they would do nothing for him. Green Tea Man, let me ask you a question. Mo Fan approached the table of Mu Bai next to him with a solemn expression. What the hell did you just call me? Mu Bai's violent temperament immediately appeared. Mu Bai, let me ask you a question. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.